Hi, Nadia.
Hello. How
Did
are
you have a good
you?
weekend?
I did. Did you?
Yeah, yeah. I saw that you were at a lake. I was also at Lake
hmm
Tahoe. Um, what was the name
I
of the lake you were
was
at?
Lake Winnipesaukee. It's in New Hampshire.
Okay.
hmm
So, how does it compare to Lake Tahoe?
It's like I think it's a very common place for people to have lake houses in New Hampshire. I'm sorry, like in the East Coast in general. And it was fun. Like the houses are super cute. They're all really close to the water, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. Really like chill weekend, which I think not that things have been super busy, but I felt like I needed it. But how was Lake Tahoe?
It was great. It was my ideal weekend. Like, we got to be in the sun and then we got to ride bikes and I got to go snowboarding. And Finn and Lucy were there with us, and
Mm-hmm.
there was a festival. So they were selling all kinds of cool stuff made in Tahoe. So it was a good mix of locals and guests. The only thing that was missing was you.
Well, I was there in spirit.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, it looked like fun. I got to tan a little, which I've been missing out on. I think.
Speaking of tanning, this is a side topic to what I was thinking about. I wanted to ask you about today, but you went to the lake with three girls that are quite a bit lighter than you. With
Yeah,
blonde hair, and probably like, I want to say at least five shades lighter than you.
probably.
Yeah. So do you ever feel like self-conscious, or like does it ever occur to you like, oh, I look a lot different from the people that I'm hanging out with?
Um,
Or does it occur to them?
I don't know if it occurs to them. I don't know if like that's not. I feel like it. I don't know if that would occur to them. I've never asked, but and I was actually gonna mention it to you. Like I did actually feel it. I think it also probably was the place I was in, but yeah, I could not. I don't necessarily feel self conscious. I could just. I'm hyper aware of it, and it like I don't know. Not that I'm like I didn't feel any outward like I don't know what the word I'm trying to look for is, but I didn't feel anything like because of it. It just was an observation.
You didn't
And
feel like somebody else was othering you, or you didn't feel like you were treated differently, but
no,
you were self-conscious, or not, you were conscious, you're aware of it.
yeah, I wasn't self conscious of it. I was just like aware of it. And yeah, I don't know. At some points of it, I was like, I could overthink it, but I was like, well, I mean, what can you do? There's really nothing I could do about that.
Yeah.
But
Okay, but what I did want to talk about today was generational differences and different ways
mm-hmm.
that we think about things. And seeing your pictures on your trip, I looked at your social media posts, and I wanted to first talk about how social media is used for me and my generation versus you. And actually, I can't really generalize because, for sure, in the grand scheme of things, where some people are on social media and other people are sharing every single bit of their life, I'm definitely on the side of I'm on social media and I am posting things, right? And then there are other people that don't even have, like, for example, Facebook or Instagram downloaded on their phone at all. And then sometimes I feel like I totally look up to that. Like, that's so awesome that they're not on social media at all. But at the same time, they miss some like key things that are happening in the lives of people that we know because they're not seeing anything pop up in posts. And is their life better or worse because of that? I don't know. But anyway, I want to say that a major difference between my generation and yours is that for a whole lot of my life, there wasn't social media and sharing of our lives on a constant basis. We basically saw each other at school or work, communicated by making a phone call, which was rare because a phone call takes time, right? I mean, it wasn't rare. We talked on the phone a lot, but that's how we would know what was going on with people, is seeing them in person, talking with them on the phone for long
Mm-hmm.
periods of time. But if you're talking to somebody on the phone, you can only talk to them on the phone. It's hard to do like watch TV and talk on the phone, right? So, um, and then we would know what was going on in each other's lives by basically seeing it live, you know?
Mm-hmm.
As
Right.
far as sharing pictures, we had this interesting thing, at least my subculture of folks had like these books, like these planners, calendars, and there would be picture slots in them. And you would go to events and like prom or any kind of dance, and you'd take a picture with all of your friends and you'd put them inside there.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you were close to somebody, you'd ask them for their school picture and they might sign it on the back, and then that would be inside your planner. And that was basically like our physical, like social media,
Right, right,
like,
right.
and so sometimes when you met somebody for the first time, you might say, hey, do you have pictures? It just sounds like ridiculous right now. And so you would look at somebody's pictures and notice whether or not you had friends in common. Like, oh, I know that person. Like, I went to elementary
Mm-hmm.
school with them or whatever. Funny that they're in your high school picture with you or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
that was like, it sounds funny to think about it, but that was our equivalent of Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm not even on Snapchat. And I feel like most people my age are not on Snapchat, but it could just be because I'm not on Snapchat. And then TikTok, I do not learn everything that I know about makeup and health and everything on TikTok. But I do know that there are people my age on TikTok. But yeah. So your
Yeah,
turn.
I feel like, I mean, the thing is, it's like generational differences, but it's not because of, I don't know. I guess it makes sense. As society grows, things change. It's not like we're going to be the same as you guys when we are older. It's because like the world is changing. Things are just different, which I guess is the definition of generational differences. But I don't know. I think it's also different between, I guess now I'm thinking of just like age groups, but teenagers younger than me, social media is also different than it is for like people my age.
How so?
I don't know. Like, I guess maybe that's just a growing up thing. Like, I don't use Snapchat that much. I use my Instagrams less for like, let's see how many likes I can get, and more like just for me. And obviously, I feel like that it was like that before, but meaning like likes and like I just want to post that everyone else is posting. Like, that's definitely something that happens with younger. I mean, I guess maybe younger girls mostly, but yeah, now I feel like it's more for me. I like kind of getting to like curate something that like is a like shows who I am, and not necessarily for other people, but I guess I can look back in it and see how I've changed over the years. And I do really like taking pictures, so it's like at least they get to go somewhere. But yeah, it's definitely used in different ways between me and you. um, I would say you use it more than most people in your generation, probably, but not in like a good or bad. Like, it's not. I don't know. People. I like that people can use it in their own way, but I think we have different ways of thinking about it. Um,
Does it feel like oversharing? Like imagine like
like
20 years ago,
now,
you didn't share everything that was going on in your life.
the thing is like I get to choose, and at some like before I was like, I probably post like too much, and now I was just talking about it with my friends today. Like, I actually don't really care if you don't want to like see it, you don't have to, and I get to choose what I could share, what I don't share, and yeah, it's like all up to me, and they were my pictures, my friends, my like fun experiences. So I don't know. It's like really, if you don't want to see it, you have the choice not to. And but I'm gonna do what I want. Um,
Well, I've interviewed somebody recently, somebody local to this area. She's just a year younger than you. And I was telling her that when she sent me a resume, because it was totally cold resume, I had, most people that come to me wanting to shadow or learn about how to become a physical therapist, they've been introduced to me by somebody else, but she just cold reached out to me. So I looked her up. I looked her up on Instagram because I knew
mhm,
she was local, and I looked at her pictures where she went to school and just like kind of how she posted about herself. And it makes a difference. Like maybe not so much for, I'll give you an example. This also
mhm,
happened with somebody else. And I looked up her pictures, and she's about to be like a professional, like a physical therapist professional. And she's still in school. And her pictures were really like body revealing, right? Like really um, beautiful, sexy pictures, And
mhm.
it's not like I wouldn't hire somebody because of that, but it just like made an impression. Like, oh, interesting.
Right.
It's not like a good or a bad. It's like, okay, because of what she decided to do to represent herself on the internet, that was my first like, you know, impression of her, and
I
it
mean,
made me pause
like,
and think. So I wonder
people
what.
just use it like in different ways, I think. Like there's yeah, it's like people are looking at it different ways. Like they see that they might see it as like a confidence thing or like I'm really excited to share. I don't know. But yeah, I guess it does make a difference. It's the reason that I put my accounts on private. Like that's I'm sharing it with the people I want to share it with. I guess it
Yeah,
could end up.
I mean, people can always screenshot it, but it's
Mm,
different. Like, it's different if you're public and posting pictures, you know, whatever pictures,
right.
and people can see it, a future employer can see it, versus if it's private and then that future employer goes out of their way to like get somebody to like friend you and take
Mm,
screenshots and send. That's like a whole other thing.
yeah. Yeah. Before I applied to co-ops, I made everything private and not because I had anything to hide, but yeah. I knew that could be a possibility. And um yeah, it's interesting though that you told the person you were interviewing that you looked at her Instagram.
I did. I wanted her to know because I really care. I mean, I care about the people that come see me, and I want them to know,
Mhm.
like, hey, by the way, when
Mhm.
it's interesting, first of all, because she's local and you follow her on Instagram.
Well,
And then I asked
I
you about
guess.
her, and then you're like, oh, I think I just have some friends that know her too, or whatever. And
Mhm.
so that's also interesting, right? Like you can see who else somebody follows if you're public, or
Right.
um,
Right.
if you have common friends.
That's
So
true. I don't know. I don't see it as oversharing. I mean, I guess no, I do see it as oversharing, but I don't see it as a bad thing, which
mhm.
is up for interpretation. If you don't like social media, you're not like, you don't have to have it. Like it's really,
Mhm.
I feel like if you have a very strong opinion about it, like, that just, that just
Yeah.
don't have it. Just delete
If you
it.
if you're on there and looking at people's pictures and judging and being grumpy about it, get off of there.
Right. Like,
Or if it feels bad to be on there, then
I don't
get
need your
off.
negative energy. um, but yeah, I just feel like I have a lot of pictures. Like, where else were they supposed to go in this day and age? I'm not gonna put them in a photo book. Like, I mean, yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
enough about social media. Next hot
mhm,
topic is dating. And I don't think I've ever talked to you about like the words that we used to use.
we had like a small conversation about it, but I don't really know if I don't know what you're gonna say right now.
Well, I don't even know if these are like local, like colloquialisms or whatever, but let me
Mhm.
just share with you what I used to talk about with my friends. So when we were younger, first of all, in in my small group of friends in San Jose, California,
Mhm.
East San Jose, we started having crushes or talking about crushes on people in fourth grade.
Mhm.
And if you liked somebody, you would say, "Do you want to go around with me?"
Mhm. It's cute.
I don't know if other people, are, in California or around the United States at that time used the term going around, but that's what we used at St. John Vianney. Do you want to go around with me? St. John Vianney is the name of my school, elementary
Mhm.
school. And sometimes we would write it like on a piece of paper, like, do you want to go around with me? And then that's it. I think pretty much in elementary school, I don't think we call each other boyfriend and girlfriend. We would just say we're going around with so and so. And then in high school, um, let's see. Typically, people would meet um, because of common friends at
Mhm.
school or at a dance. And we
Mhm.
almost always went to date dances with a date of the opposite sex.
Mhm.
Almost always, which I feel like is different for your generation. But like,
Yeah.
we would never go to prom with a bunch of just our girlfriends or homecoming.
Mhm.
We would have a date. And at that time in the 90s, it was, I think, almost always a person of the opposite sex,
Mhm.
regardless of what your interests were,
Mhm.
and then or preferences were, and so we would say that we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and pretty much, I think we would use the words going steady. I know what those words mean, but I don't know if my friends actually used it. It was either on the
Mhm.
movies or that's what we used it. But going steady meant you were exclusive, and and then, yeah, most relationships were exclusive. There weren't a lot of people that were purposely dating around in high school, like seeing
Mhm.
multiple people. I don't remember anybody ever talking about thruples or like um, casual hookups. They
Mhm.
happened, but they were like secret. And
Mhm.
that, I mean, I did go to Catholic school my whole life, so maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe.
there were no like openly casual hookups. Like, it's okay that you're just casually hooking up with people.
Mhm.
And then you would get engaged and get married. That's like the dating progression of
uh,
my experience, my era where I lived, growing up in the 80s and 90s.
um, well, elementary school, people had crushes from kindergarten on. Like, I really don't see any time where I did not have someone talking about someone they had a crush on. But elementary school, for me, there wasn't necessarily a lot of social media, but more TV and stuff like that. So then we were watching it on Disney Channel, which I guess can kind of that affects things. And I don't know. I didn't have a boyfriend in elementary school, so I don't know. I think they would call it crushes, and it's not going around. Like, I think you had a crush, and then all of a sudden you're boyfriend and girlfriend. And then in middle school and in high school was similar. I think like terminology changed, but for the most part it was the same. I think obviously crushes were a thing. Middle school things happened a lot faster than high school. Um, you're, I guess I could talk more about high school and college, but like there is dating around, not in high school, but in college for sure, which I could talk about later. But dating around, not dating around, like just dating multiple people, going on dates. Sorry, going on dates and dating people are two different things, I think. There's like, I feel like there's a lot of like, there's a lot of like other opinions, but um, yeah, you could go on dates with someone, but in high school, it was
Wait,
more like you're
back
going.
up. When you're saying I'm dating somebody, does that mean that it's an exclusive situation?
Let me get to that. I feel like I was saying I was gonna go through high school and college, but I feel like things are different. High school, you could go on dates with somebody, but usually you're like you're not going dates with multiple people because that's like you're not on like dating apps. You're not like you're meeting people through mutual friends at school and class, but then you add in like I guess Snapchat and Instagram maybe, but like people would add, you'd add a random guy on Snapchat and you might have mutual friends and then you meet that way. You go to a party, you meet them there, which I guess is not super different than like a dance and stuff like that. The dances you didn't have to go with dates. I guess for my school, for my public school, you would go and with your friends. It wasn't like a date dance. I didn't dress up for middle school or high school. Actually, I guess for middle school. But honestly, I can't remember middle school anymore. Um, for high school, I didn't. Apart from prom and formals, the other dances, homecoming was like super casual. And even for formal and prom, you didn't have to go with a date. Um, but yeah, so you can go on a date with one person. People didn't usually go on dates with multiple people. And then you're talking, like you're talking to someone. It's like, I guess that's like the effects of social media. You'd be Snapchatting them. So that's like one step. Then you're like, high school is like from talking to dating, college is from talking, and then you have what we like to call a situationship, which I don't know who made up that term, but it's basically a situation you're in a relationship, but you're not boyfriend and girlfriend. And it's up for interpretation whether or not each of these steps means you're exclusive or not. I personally would say if I was talking to someone, it's not necessarily exclusive. But if I said I was dating someone, then it is. But also, people tell me a lot of different things and they all have their own different ideas. So it's really up for determination, which means a lot of communication is involved. And if like people aren't on the same page, it's messy. But Snapchat definitely plays a huge role in it. Not so much Instagram for, I guess, my high school.
Well, that's interesting. That like that Snapchat step is something that was missing. That didn't exist.
Right. And then for college, like hookup culture is very, very prominent, which I guess it is in high school too. But for me personally, it wasn't like in my friend group, that wasn't necessarily the case, but it is present in high school also. But more so like within larger friend groups. Like you don't go out of your friend groups would just hook up with other people in their friend group.
In high school.
Yeah. Um and then in college, it's just crazy. I honestly feel like I'm like not the right person to talk about this because I'm not in a relationship, but um the relationship type people are not, you know, I don't know how to explain it. Like they're not gonna partake in the hookup culture, but it's hard for people who are not in relationships to get in a relationship when a lot of times people are more focused on just hooking up with however many people they want. Um, and then the labels are the same as before, but there's just like I feel like it's like a barrier, and also things it like separates groups of people. I don't know. There's like a lot of little things that like don't really matter, and if hookup culture wasn't a thing, which I think was mainly due to social media, then we wouldn't it wouldn't really be that big of a deal. But I would say if you
Wait,
talk
why is hookup culture a bigger thing because of social media?
like you can like with dating apps with like all of that stuff, you could reach out to so many people. And then like if you're not in the headspace, I guess, to be in a relationship, like why not go hang out with however many people you want? But it's I I guess I talk to girls more about it, but it makes things harder if you're not that type of person, you know? Um
Yeah, okay. When you said social media, I wasn't thinking about the dating apps. Okay, I have a question about dating apps
mm,
because many of my friends aren't really on dating apps because they're married. Um, some of them are divorced and dating, but my one person that I got to hear a lot about her dating, and she's around my age, um, she would get a lot of young guys reaching out to her, and they would always be sending explicit pictures. Is that just
mm,
her? Is that what was like? Is that the energy she was bringing, or is that just really, really common that like sending
well,
pictures of your
it's
parts is
it's
common?
it's different because she's older than me. You know, cuz you can also set your age range. You don't have to like I guess you can set it to like this was you don't have to have like for me a bunch of older people, you know, reaching out to you. And I like would specifically not want that. So that's something you can do. And then as far as that, I I mean, it depends on the people that are reaching out to you. I guess like on the dating apps that I've been on, you can't send pictures when you're on it. So you can be the judge of whether or not you want to give like outside information to them.
Mm.
I don't
So
know.
yeah. So she must have given her cell phone number.
But like it is definitely a thing. I just maybe I've been more like I don't know what the difference is, but some recently I don't give it out to everybody. I also like if some I do give it out, I don't even like talk to them on there. I don't know. It really
You're talking about
depends
your
on how.
phone. You're talking about your phone number, not
No,
pictures.
Snapchat.
Oh, oh.
Yes, oh my god. I'm not talking about who do you think I am? Um yeah. And for people my age, it's usually Snapchat. It's kind
Oh,
of
you would not
annoying.
give your phone number. That's a whole other level
Yeah,
of intimacy. First level
I
Snapchat,
guess. Well,
second level.
not for me, but like for the people, for most guys, I feel they ask for your Snapchat first, probably because they want to know what you look like. Which I guess
I see. I see. But then if someone's following you on Snapchat, can't they automatically start following your location?
no, only if you give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
So turn it off.
All right.
But yeah, so I feel like I went in circles, but like there's it's like almost too complicated to even explain. There's
Yeah, I do not feel any more clear about the dating
exactly. I feel
hierarchy.
like there is none, which is the issue. There's none. It's just like a free for all.
I feel like people in general are, in your generation, less prone or less likely to make a commitment.
Definitely.
You think so? Like we
Mm-hmm.
were more into like having a boyfriend exclusive or having
Yeah.
an exclusive significant other, but for you,
Right. I think so. I think
yeah.
it's like yeah. It's you. It's we've learned that we could do things. I guess more so for women. We learned how to we can like survive on our own. We don't have to have another person. So
Hmm.
if you don't want it, then you don't have to, and you could
Hmm.
be totally fine. And I think as far as commitment, there's just so many. For me, the way I see it is there's just like so many opportunities, and sometimes feels like if I commit myself to one person, then I won't be able to I don't know, do what I want maybe, but that's just how I feel right now. Obviously, I feel like that'll change, but yeah, don't like commitment, scared of commitment. I feel like that's the basis of hookup culture.
Yeah, because you think that maybe if you commit to somebody, then they'll control your life somehow.
Control your life or like stop you from doing the thing. Yeah, stop you from doing things that you want to do. Or like not stop you, but like then they're your focus. Like your relationship is the main focus.
Hmm.
And then if you're not ready for that, you're not ready for that. And so you would avoid it at all costs. But you like, I don't know.
I think it is quite
People
possible
are
though to like have somebody that you're committed to
totally,
and still be able to like do the things that you want to do. Like it's possible to have both.
yeah. I mean, you can even, this is like, I'm just making crazy thing assumptions here, but also like, I, for example, need to be doing multiple things at once. So to like put on, like, in that sense, like, maybe it's almost like I don't want to have to focus all my attention on this one thing when I can focus on myself and like I don't know. But that's like a I feel like that's a pretty pessimistic view of it, but that could also play a role, which is all due to social media. But
Well, I guess some things that I hear my generation say about your generation is like an a bigger focus on self. And we talked about social media. So like a bigger
mm-hmm.
focus on self, like you can see it on social media because people will post pictures of just them, you know, them and their face, like multiple pictures of them and their face. And then as far as the my generation will also say about your generation, like they don't seem to like want to make commitments to anybody, you know, like they just
Yeah,
seem to
but
want to
like
like live their life and
yeah,
not in any rush to like be
I don't
exclusive to
know.
anybody. And isn't that is that going to be sad for them in the long run? Are they going to be lonely in the long run?
I don't think that can be a generalization. That's definitely not how everyone thinks. I feel like the things I've been saying is probably mostly due to the fact that I'm not in a relationship, so I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know, I'm not thinking in the sense of like being committed to someone. I'm totally capable of it, but I'm not in right now doing that. And it's like rather be
Maybe next.
committed to myself and like my friendships, but or not that I'd rather, but like that's what I'm focusing on. But I do feel like you said just now, I think your generation has like a certain way that they look at things when like a person's posting all just themselves, which like I don't necessarily see that as an issue. I think you guys tend to like you're making the generalization that like oh they're just doing things on their own, they don't have any friends, like they only care about what other people think about them, which might be the case, but also like it could be also very casual. It doesn't have to be like that, like it doesn't have to be have that big of a deal, you know, like people are just doing things because they can because they can. And like the loneliness might be something, but not like you might just really like the picture that you had of just you, so like you end up posting only those pictures online. Those are like you want to show your best self, so and it ends up being you by yourself. So I don't know. It really depends on the person.
Well, it's going to be really interesting to see if culture and culture changes shifts as much as it has between my generation and your generation and your like the next generation, like the people, the kids that are going to be your
I
kids'
feel like
age.
Yeah. My kids right now, like because of social media and they're on social media so young, get in relationships much faster
Hmm.
because they see it. And like, I guess my only like evidence of this is TikTok and what happens to come up on my For You page. But like, people are just the kids and the generation younger than me are just like growing up a lot faster because everything they see from influencers is from people older than them. So
Hmm.
the things they buy, the things they do, the way that they interact with other people is all influenced by people like 10 years older than them.
Oh, I can
So,
see that because I'll see some young people in my practice talking about like skincare,
right.
or like I mean, that like 10-year-olds talking about like how to
Mm-hmm.
get dewy skin. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, like
I
that
didn't
was a
know
big
that
thing
10-year-olds cared about that.
on TikTok recently of like how like these like 10-year-olds would just like swarm into Sephora and buy like all have their moms with them and buy like all like the products that influencers use and now like they're all sold out and they're like why do you need like eye cream when you're like 10 years old. But yeah, they're very influenced by the influencers when it comes to literally everything. So yeah,
Well,
that's gonna affect things.
yeah, and AI is going to affect that next generation. So let's see what happens there. It's going to be different. It's going to be really different, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll talk to you next week. Hopefully, I have some interesting stories to share. I'm going to a really exciting party this weekend.
Gonna be fun.
All right, bye.
Bye.